Washington President Joe Biden will sign the executive order on Wednesday during the Summit of Nations, which aims facilitate domestic Americans access federal financing and have more autonomy on how deposit these funds. White House domestic policy consultant Neerra Tanden said, the tribal countries still faced with unacceptable obstacles to using their natural sovereignty, and are really because we implementing federal financing programs very often, he said. Historically, Tanden said that federal policies attacked the right to self-rule of the indigenous people and caused permanent economic damage. In part, the order creates a swap center for the Indian tribes to find access federal financing, and demands federal agencies to ensure that financing is accessible fair. The order will be introduced on first day of the annual summit, which is expected appeal Native American leaders gathered in Washington, and he is expected announce a new work. Help explain. Laguna Pueblo member Deb Haaland said, yes, there are painful parts of our history, but there are parts that we celebrate and show our flexibility, strength and contributions. The Ministry of the Interior also works on the final revisions of a rule that overhauls how human remains, tomb objects and holy objects are sent back. Mosques and federal agencies facilitate the need to identify possible elements for return. Biden hosted the summit last year and almost a year ago. This year, White House officials said that the target was to offer tribal leaders opportunity to make more meaningful conversations directly with Biden's cabinet members. Although federal government was obliged to consult tribal governments, some Indian and Alaska domestic leaders complained that despite efforts of federal agencies to make changes, they often discussed process as a control practice. From Nevada to Alaska, for example, to allow decisions about mining projects, oil and gas development and the protection of sacred areas, stressed that some leaders are deficiency in the process. Authorities also announced that American Native American Affairs Council, which is co-chaired by HAALAND TANEN, has published a guide summarizing best practices and procedures for management, treatment protection of sacred areas. New Mexico contributed to this report in Montoya Bryan in Albuquerque.